Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
Happy Monday. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you.
It is 8:07 Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Saving time.
It should be 7:07, but it is 8:07. Tucker Carlson joins us now from the Daily Caller. He was able to figure out the clocks. Good morning, Tucker.
Oh, gentlemen, good morning.
You know, I actually believe that we should somehow fix this time situation that we have. I don't mind switching the clock, but I just think we should pick one time and stick with it instead of going back in the fall and turning it back an hour and springing, forward an hour. I just want to pick one time and stick with it. Tucker, do you have an opinion on
it's kind of nice to have a clear demarcation between the unhappy part of the year and the happy, cheerful part of the year. And that's daylight savings time. Hibernation is over. You know the long national nightmare has ended. You've survived. You're psyched.
That's only, though, for places where there is actually a winter. What about in Southern California and Texas? We don't have to worry about that.
I was telling my kids this weekend, we have not earned this spring.
No.
Like, normally spring comes and you feel like, I put up with a lot to get to this.
Yeah.
But this year, no, it's like we just sort of got it. I feel spoiled.
But I was thinking that let's just say we didn't have daylight saving time at all, and somebody in Washington came forward and said, "You know what we ought to do? We ought to change the clock back an hour in the fall and change it ahead in the spring." What people would do, the reaction would be if the government decided to get into the time business. I think there would be quite an outrage in this country over that.
It really is the clearest possible sign that the federal government does indeed believe it's God.
Right.
That they can actually fool with time. You know what I mean?
You can't fool with time. I mean, that's the way it is. It should be one time. You can't go back and forth every 7 months or 8 months.
Does anybody really know what time it is?
Thank you.
Does anybody really care?
That's.
If so, I can't imagine why.
That's a lyrical question. Yeah. But it wasn't in Arizona. I think it was Arizona that eschewed both daylight savings time and MLK Day.
Yes.
And was cast out in the cuckoo bird land. Like, people actually boycotted Arizona because in real life we hate diversity. We pretend we love diversity, but whenever someone does something really different, i.e. diverse,
right,
then people boycott it. So I think they came around on both those things.
All right, let's talk
MLK Day.
Let's talk politics. Gas prices are having a tremendous impact on the polls. And I see this poll, it's a national tracking poll that shows that if the election were held today and if it were between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, that Romney will win by 6. And that's a dramatic change of where it was just a week or so ago. Most people believe it has to do with gas prices. What do you think?
I think gas prices have an effect. I also think there's such a deep strain of volatility in the electorate, probably in American society itself right now, that any kind of long-term, and by long-term I mean beyond tomorrow forecasting, is probably fruitless because people likely change their minds utterly. But I do think, look, if you played it right, if you're the Republican Party, you could make a pretty clear case that gas prices, if not Obama's fault, reveal how clueless he is. I mean, literally, I'm not making this up, it sounds like I am. The president got up last Wednesday and made the case on television that if you want to lower gas prices, we should increase taxes on oil companies. So anybody, maybe we should increase taxes on oil companies or not. I mean, you could make, I guess, some kind of case for that. But you can't claim we're doing it because we want to lower gas prices.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, because that takes away their incentive to go out and find more oil and natural gas.
Well, you tax anything, and of course the price goes up. And who do you think bears?
Well, exactly.
The
Consumers
weight of the cost?
bear all taxes.
Consumers. So, you really have to have no understanding of markets at all, and that doesn't really surprise me since he hasn't had any exposure firsthand to markets, having never had a job outside of academia or the government. But it still is pretty unbelievable he said that in a speech. And so if you're the Republican Party, it's not so hard to take that and spin it into a larger narrative about the guy's cluelessness. That's what I would do. But, the Republicans are really disorganized and not that smart, so maybe they won't be able to capitalize.
But perception is really, as you know, more important sometimes than reality. And the perception is, look, the Keystone Pipeline, if, you could say, yes, we're going to build it tomorrow, and it really wouldn't impact oil prices for some time. But the sort of the perception that's left in the mind of many voters, I think, is, you know what? It's an example of how he doesn't get it. that his policies are all aligned against anything that would help the situation, even if it's down the line.
Well, the real answer is, so Obama's saying stuff like speculators are to blame for this. With speculators, that's another word for the market, right? And that's where oil prices are set, on the international market. And they're set by people who are trying to think ahead and imagine what oil will cost 6 months, 2 years from now, of course, right? They're hedging against future probabilities. And the reason that they believe oil will be more expensive is because of international instability that Obama is feeding. So, like, if you really want to lower oil prices, then you strive for a foreign policy based on stability. You don't undermine, say, Hosni Mubarak in Egypt. You don't undermine Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. They may be bad people, but you understand that stability around the world helps America more than anything. And Obama doesn't get that. So really, in my opinion, I think this is true. This is a foreign policy question. And, pursuing a foreign policy that puts democracy above all else, which is, like, dumb, ends up, in the end, raising your gas prices. That's just true.
Yeah, there's a boatload of energy in this country, though, that obviously can be tapped. That he just doesn't want to get involved in. Let me ask you about Romney. He's doing better in two key southern states, Mississippi and Alabama. In fact, in one poll in Alabama or Mississippi, he's up right now. If he wins one of those states, is it over then, or does it continue on for a little bit longer? I mean, I realize that neither Santorum nor Gingrich will get out of the race, but I mean, if he wins one of those southern states, is it essentially over?
Well, I think that possibly over. I wouldn't rule anything out in this crazy year, but I would say it's probably curtains for Newt, who, he's been around a long, long time and understands how this works and has won some elections and lost some too, and I think he'll get out. I don't think he's a bitter ender. And it'll be interesting to see who he endorses. I don't see him endorsing Romney.
No, neither.
I actually think Santorum said the other day he's staying until June, and I believe him. And that's a while from now. So, no, I think this thing does go until summer.
And can he get to 1144? Because we saw this one analysis done by Real Clear Politics that said he can't get there.
Who the Romney?
Not even Romney can get there. Nobody can.
Well, that's right. No, okay. So this is the thing nobody's saying out loud, right? So the Romney people come out and they basically make the case, you have to vote for us. You have no choice. We've got a monopoly on the market. There's no way Rick Santorum can get to the majority. But it is also probably true that Romney will have a tough time getting to the majority. So at some point, someone needs to bow to pressure, but the question is, who has the authority to exert the pressure? Like, who's going to tell Rick Santorum to get out? Nobody, because no one's in charge of the Republican Party right now.
All right, Tucker.
So this is messy.
Good to talk to you as always. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tucker.
Thanks, guys.